Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf, BECHOROS Daf Ches. We began around halfway down the Amud, Rabbi Tarfon Omer. So this relates back to the story in the Mishnah. We have this sheep birthing for the first time, gives birth to a double header, 2 male offspring. Now one is certainly going to be a Bechor, going to the Kohen, and one remains by the owner. Which one is which? We don't know. According to Rabbi Tarfon, the Kohen gets the better one of the two. Rabbi Tarfon Omer Kohen Boider Loi Esayafa. The Kohen will choose for himself the better quality sheep. Why? How is that consistent with the general rule in matters of financial claims? Hamaitzi Mechaveri Olavaraya, the one who's looking to collect, he must prove his case. So why do we grant the Kohen the rights to the better animal? My time at Rabbi Tarfon. The answer is Kasavar, he holds Hahud Bari Navak Barish. We can assume that the healthier one, stronger one, he made his way out first. In which case you can be rest assured that the better one is in fact the Bechor. Rabbi Kiva Omer, no, Mishamnin B'neiah. He disagrees. Mishamnin means Lashon Shuma, the evaluation, the appraisal, the added value of the better one, B'neiah. Now what does that mean? You know what Rabbi Kiva meant to say? He meant to totally disagree with Rabbi Tarfon. According to me, the Kohen gets the inferior one, as per the general rule. So he had quoted Rabbi Yechanan, and then he turned to him with a question. Rabbi Yechanan, how can you say that? V'anan, but look at our Mishnah, Mishamnin B'neiin. It says Tanan, it says Mishamnin B'neiin, which indicates that the extra value is between them, meaning they will split the difference on that extra amount. And you're saying that the owner keeps the entire extra? And he gives the Kohen the weaker one? Amalei Rabbi Yechanan responded a bit harshly. He says, Ada Achlas, while you were munching on, dates, enjoying yourself in Bavel, we were toiling and figuring things out. And we arrived at this clarity. And this is indeed the correct shot in the Mishnah. Ada Achlas Kafnaisa, while you were eating dates, but Bavel, back in Bavel, Targimna, Mi Seifa. We confirm that this in fact is the correct understanding of Rabbi Kiva's position. Just take a look at the next part of the Mishnah. What happened there? A mishap occurred. The Tani Sefer, the Mishnah continues. We have these two offspring, one Bechor, one not. And what happened? Meis echad mehen, one passes away. There's one survivor. Who keeps that? Rabbi Tarfon Yachloiku, he says they split it. But the Kohen and the owner has equal rights. Rabbi Kiva Omer Moitzim Chavaraya. No. The owner keeps it until the Kohen can prove that this in fact belonged to him. Clearly, Rabbi Kiva holds that the owner is a mochsak. He's the presumed owner. He has the upper hand. And if you're going to suggest that in the earlier case when they were both alive and well, Rabbi Kiva meant to split the extra. Misham and B'nai means they both have an equal right to the extra value of the better one over the other one. Well, exactly the same should happen here. When one passes away, there's one left behind. They should both split it if they have both equal rights. Apparently, it's not so. Apparently, the owner has stronger rights than the Kohen because he's been the owner until now. We presume that his ownership maintains and continues unless proven otherwise. Ella mai mishamne. So what then did Rabbi Kiva mean mishamne b'neian? You have two alive and well, and one is a Bechor, one is not. One is better, one is inferior. Mishamne, what does that mean? Shumon yehei b'neian. It means exactly this, that the extra value is the subject of dispute between them. And in fact, the owner can tell the Kohen, have a nice day. I see Raya, the Bechor, who was shakal, until you can prove that in fact the better one is the Bechor. You'll take it until that happens, it's mine. Okay, now, he gave one to the kohen, whether it's the better one or the inferior one, the one that remains in the hands of the owner, although he keeps it, but it's still a suffix bechor. It can be that was really the bechor, right? So he has to treat it accordingly. Let it, run wild until it gets a blemish. Then he can shecht and eat it. Although he doesn't have to give the whole thing to the kohen, he already gave one to the kohen in exchange, right? But matanis, which is the azraya, the chayayim, the portions of a regular animal that would go to the kohen, are forwarded to the kohen in this case as well. Why not? Look, either it's fully a bechor or it's a regular animal, in which case you owe the matanos to the kohen. Rabbi Yossi poiter. Listen to this. He says you're potter. Why? So first we're going to dwell on Rav Meir. My time with the Rav Meir. Why does Rav Meir maintain that you owe the kohen the matanos on the one that you're holding back? Rabbi Yochanan, look, the kohen has a claim either way. Hoyel of a kohen, ba'al of mishnei tzadin. The kohen will come on both sides, meaning he has a manavshach claim. Either way, he has a right to the matanos. The Amarle, the kohen, tells the owner, look, on the chance that he's really the bechor, give me the whole thing. The whole thing belongs to me. Kulei medidiu, it's all mine. If he's not bechor, just a regular animal, then you owe me the matanos, which come from any animal. Havli matanos minei. No. So that's pretty straightforward. Rabbi Yossi, my time. So why does Rabbi Yossi exempt him from matanos? Why is it different than any other animal? Amar Rava, listen to this. Asu she'enoi zoichet hachamim considered a non-acquirer, kazoich as though he acquired. Rashi explains. You see, the kohen had his hand in both animals. One of them was a bechor, right? So he had a claim on both, so to speak, to take one of them. So when you gave the kohen one of the two, you sort of satisfied the obligation of both animals by giving him one. So it's sort of an exchange, like he gave it to him and he gave it back and he refunded you one. So he gave him both and he refunded you one. In which case, when the kohen gives a bechor back to Yisrael, now it gets a mum, it's like Pesuli HaMekdashim, which is exempt from matanos, as we learned the other day. That is the status that Chachamim gave to this animal that stays behind by the owner. And some explain it was in order to give it special status so that the owner doesn't mistakenly use it as a regular animal, because you can't, just in case it's a bechor, you can't share it and work with it. So they gave it special status due to this sort of perceived a procedure that it underwent. It's as though it was given to the kohen, both, and then one given back to the owner in exchange for the one that the kohen keeps, and now it's exempt from matanos. And although technically this animal that stayed behind never came to the kohen, we consider it as though it was delivered to the kohen, as though both were given to the kohen, and he refunded him back one. He sold it back to the Yisrael because it got a mum. We gave it that status. So it was like a sale, because he gave him one, he took one. It's like he made a swap. And now a bechor balmum that he got from a kohen is pater from matanos. So again, you started with two. One was bechor, one wasn't. One goes to the kohen, one you keep. The one that you keep, are you chayiv matanos? Rabbi says yes. The kohen says, look, either way, either give me the entire thing because he's a bechor, but if he's not a bechor, give me the matanos. Rabbi says no. We treated it as though they were both by the kohen and refunded him one. It was like an exchange. Amar B'Elazar, you should know, that is limited. Rabbi Yossi's exemption is specific to this case. We started with two. It's as though you gave them both to the kohen, etc. But suppose you only have one to begin with. A suffix bechor. Let's say in a case where the animal gave birth to a male and female. You don't know which one was first, which one's second. So you keep the male because he may be a bechor, maybe not, may not a bechor. So you keep it. In this case, there's no exchanging with the kohen. There's no transactions. So in this case, of course, even Rabbi Yossi would agree, you owe the kohen at least the matanos, because it never really underwent this whole procedure to consider refunded by the kohen, in which case you can't exempt it. Amar Blazer. So Blazer comes to add this clarity. Hakol Moedim all agree, even Rabbi Yossi agrees in the following case that you chayv matanis besafek b'char. You have one animal who's a safek b'char. So you never, wheeled and deal with the kohen on it. You just kept it, just held on to it. She'ein chalip biat kohen. There's no exchange of it given to the kohen. Shechayv matanis. Of course, you chayv to give the kohen the matanis. Hakol Moedim. Now, who agrees? All agree. What do you mean? All agree? Man, who are you referring to? Rabbi Yossi? Pshita, of course. There's no basis for exemption in this case. Pshita, of course, it goes without saying. Adkan l'kompater Rabbi Yossi hasam. It's only over there Rabbi Yossi exempts because it went through this whole wrangling. El chavlipim be'at kohen. There was an exchange. The also shen izach gezech consider as well the kohen gone and gave back to you. Fine. There's some sort of legal, framework to justify, the exemption. But in this case, it was just one animal to begin with. You never gave anything to kohen. You never got anything in exchange. Of course, there's no reason to exempt. What's the point of even discussing this? It goes without saying. No, I'll tell you, there's room to misunderstand Rabbi Yossi and learn him in a different way, in which case he would apply even in this case. There's room to think so. Perhaps there would be room to think, mistakenly think. Time that Rabbi Yossi, the Kasav, Rabbi Yossi's reason for exemption is not because it was an exchange and it was a transaction with the kohen. No, that's not the reason. It was just based on psychological insight the Chacham had into people's mindset. The Kasav, Rabbi Yossi holds, look, if he's going to owe the matanis on the safek b'chor, what's going to happen? The owner will view it like a regular, ordinary, private animal. He'll work it, he'll share it, which he shouldn't because it may be b'chor. Asilei, the giza avoid might go share and work it. In which case, Chacham gave it special status. You know what? Exempt it from matanis. It's worth it. So that the owner is now cognizant of the special status, he won't come to do an isra and use it. In which case, this rationale would apply even to a case where there's just one single animal, which is a safek. We don't want him to mistakenly view it as his own animal, right? Even there's no exchanging with the kohen, it would still be exempt. Kamash, Malan comes to Blazer says, no, up to a point. The svara is true, the concern is very real, but it has to conform to some sort of legal framework. There has to be some sort of legal justification. So when you have two to begin with, you gave one to the kohen, it's like you made an exchange, like you made a transaction, like you got it from the kohen. There's sort of precedent to this basis for exemption, as opposed to the case where it's just one to begin with. There's no exemption. Ask the Gemara, look, how could you even entertain this approach to Rabbi Yossi that it's all based on human psychology? Atani Seifa. Look at the next Mishnah coming up later. Rabbi Yossi articulates his position, which is clearly based on the exchange phenomenon, not just on the human mindset. Rabbi Yossi will explain, return to base, Kol shechalipav biad kohen patur b'namatanis Rabbi Yeruchayev. So basically clearly articulates his positions because it was an exchange with the kohen. Clearly it's only limited to that type of case. Chalipim biad kohen in when it was swapped with the other one to the kohen, then we have an exemption. We have basis for exemption. In chalipim biad kohen leib, there's no exchange with the kohen. Of course not. Well, that wouldn't be so telling, so revealing. Perhaps Rabbi Yossi there is not really articulating his true position. He's just relating to Rameir on his wavelength. He says, look, are you going to argue with me even in the case where there was an exchange? I mean, it's pretty bold. Look, according to my real position, I feel even when there was no exchange happening with the kohen, I would still exempt him because of the human mentality. Because if you obligate him to give him matanos, who mistakenly treated like his own animal, right? And certainly when there was an exchange with the kohen. That's my personal position. But you're a mayor, okay, you don't want to submit to that. You don't want to take it that far. But at least in the case where there was a real exchange, you started with two, you came away with one, why wouldn't you agree? But according to your position, let's relate to your approach. You're not going to agree with me on the first part, but at least agree to me at least when there was an exchange with the kohen, and the kohen took one and gave you the other. Wouldn't you agree to exempt him, at least in this case, to also consider the kohen who was not really zoich on both as if he did, and he gave it back to him, etc. Rameir says no, flat no. Even in this case, I disagree, and I obligate him matanis. Okay, so bottom line, you have two. One is a bechor, one is not. Right? So technically, they're both safek bechor. You give one to the kohen, you keep one for yourself. The one that you keep, Rameir says you have to give the matanis to the kohen, because either way, either he takes the whole thing, if it's a bechor, if not, you own the matanis like any other animal. Rabbi says no, pater. Also, she'en zecha kezecha. But of course, this only applies when the starting point was two. But if it was just one to begin with, which was a safek bechor, comes Rabbi Lezer and teaches us, in this case, even Rabbi Yossi would not exempt. Continues the Gemara. Now on the other side of the equation, we're going to focus on Rameir. Rameir says that you're chayv matanis. V'amar Papa says Rav Papa Akol Moedib. Even Rameir would agree in the following case: besafek maser shepatim namatanis. You have a safek, not bechor, maser behem. Basically, he started counting. 1, 2, 3, 10, boom, maser, and then he jumped back in. He ran for his life. He jumped back into the pen, and now you have one in that whole crowd of animals, which is maser behema. It's meant to be a korban. What do? You send them out to the wild to get a blemish, and you shech them, you eat them, but one of them is really maser behema, which is exempt from matanis to the kohen. So they're all exempt. Because which one is it, right? Hakomodim all agree shebesafek maser shepatim namatanis. Even Rameir would agree in this case. Says the Gemara, Kol Moedim. Who are you referring to when you say all agree? Man, who? Rameir? Oh, Pshita, of course. It goes without saying. Of course he exempts. This wasn't up for discussion. Ad kam like kamachai Rameir hasam. Ela b'safek b'chor. Rameir only obligates when it's a safek of a b'chor. Because look, the kohen has a claim either way, like we explained numerous times. Hayil ubal of kohen mishneit stadin. The kohen will come from either side. Meaning, either it's a full bechor, then it belongs to me, or if it's a regular animal, give me the matanis. That was safek maser, but safek maser behem. Maser behem belongs to the owner. It doesn't relate to the kohen law. How does the kohen have a claim on that? It's a safek like any other, and he doesn't collect when it's a safek. Why would you have to even mention this? Well, says the Gemara, you know what? Very similar to the previous Gemara. Perhaps there's room to explain Rameir differently. Explain Rameir's obligation in a different light, which would apply even in this case. There's room to think, perhaps Rameir obligates by the safek bechor for the following reason. It's that people are mindful. People, you know what? We don't want people to forget about the obligation to give matanis of an animal to a kohen. You're going to exempt in this case, he's going to draw conclusions, and he's going to apply it to all cases, So, therefore, he obligates matanis even when perhaps he shouldn't be chayiv. In which case, it would apply even by safek maser. I feel safek maser namik kamashmon comes Rav Papa says no. That's not why you have to give matanis. The reason is because the kohen has a double claim, right? Either way, which doesn't apply in this case. Once again, the Gemara is similar style to the previous. How could even suggest that would be Rameir's basis? Look at the next Mishnah where they articulate their positions. Rabbi Yossi turned to Rameir and says, what do you mean? Why are you obligating the safek bechor, whose exchange was given to the kohen, right? Like we said before, Rameir says that he's chayiv. Now, who says Rameir is disagreeing on technical terms? He agrees that, when there was an exchange, technically there's room for exemption, but that's not where he's coming from. He's coming from more of a mindset type of thing that will concern people might forget. A special takanos chachamim. What's Rabbi Yossi taking him to task, so to speak, on a technical argument? Rameir agrees that technically you should exempt him because there was an exchange with the kohen. That should be a reason for exemption, but there's a reason to override that, so that in a communal sense, in a national sense, we're concerned about exempting people so that it doesn't, come to full dissolution of the matanos to the kohen. So clearly, that's not the basis for a mayor's position. Says the Gemara, you know what? There's room to think like this. Rameir philosophic master machayev. No, Rameir is based on that communal mindset. And even by Sefik master, he would obligate in matanos. And the reason why they're discussing exchanges and technical matters, it was meant to highlight Rabbi Yosef's position. To show that Rabbi Yosef exempts even when the kohen has a very strong claim. Look, give me the whole thing or give me part of it. Either way, you owe it to me. So it was meant to highlight his position. And the reason why he exempts, like we said before, because it's as always given to the kohen and refunded, etc. But in reality, perhaps Rameh would apply his obligation even to a Safek Master because of that communal forgetfulness, concern. Kamash Malam comes to our Papa says, no, let me clarify to you. Rameh's position is based on the fact that the kohen has a claim, and that only applies to Safek Bechor. You can say, look, either it's a Bechor, give it to me, or it's a regular animal, give me the matanis, but it doesn't apply by Safek Maser Behema, where all he has is regular Safek. Maybe you owe it to him, maybe you don't, in which case you're exempt. So the bottom line is, between Rameir, who obligates the matanis, Rabbi Yossi exempts, and only applies when the starting point were two animals. One you keep, one to the kohen. It's as though there was an exchange. Rabbi Yossi says, it's as though you got it back from the kohen, you're exempt from matanis. Rameir disagrees. He says just the opposite. The kohen can say, look, either give me the whole thing if it's a bechor, or give me part of it. If it's just a regular animal, you owe me matanis. But it wouldn't apply. This machlekes would not apply, meaning Rabbi Yossi would agree that the starting point was just one Safek Bechor, in which case you held on to it, never had any dealing with the kohen. Of course, you have to give him matanis. On the other hand, Rabbi Meir would exempt if it's a Safek Maser Behema. There's no double claim there. The kohen doesn't. So there, you're exempt from matanis. Continues the Mishnah. Meis echad mehem Reb Tafnim yachleiku. So earlier we said that if there's a double header, you have two live animals, one Bechor, one not. We just can't identify which one's what. Reb Tafnim had given the kohen, granted him the rights to the better one. Now let's fast forward. Mishnah continues with one of them dying on you. They split the survivor. Why? How are these two things consistent? Let's take a look at which one died, the better one, then the kohen's loss. And vice versa. Why split the survivor? Next, let's examine what happened. Isham and Mace, was it the better quality one that died? The kohen's died. Have a nice day. And the one that's surviving is the Balabaisis. If it's the inferior one that died, then we know the Balabais might, the owners died. The one that's surviving is the kohen. Tarfon retracted his position. He no longer gives the kohen the better one. Rather, he held that they both have equal rights to both until he confirmed otherwise. Okay, so in this case where one died, they split. In the case that one died, the kohen cannot collect at all unless he can prove his position. So what's this machlekes based on? Whether they split the survivor or the owner keeps it, it's not really a machlekes. They're talking about two different scenarios, which will explain their respective positions. In one, there is a achleiku. In one, the owner is a muhsag, is deemed the owner, and he holds on to it. Mashal de Rab Tarfon. Rab Tarfon's position that they split it can be illustrated with a parable as follows. Comparable to the following scenario, which has a achleiku outcome. L'shnayim sheifkidu. We have two individuals, Reuven and Shimon, sheifkidu, they entrusted a shepherd with their two animals. Sheifkidu etzel raya. So he had two animals to begin with. And throughout the day, one died. He has one left. What does he do? So Reuben or Shimon don't have an advantage one over the other because nobody is actually physically in possession. There's no muhsik. The shepherd, he's holding it on behalf of both. So what does he do with this surviving animal? Shamaniach roya b'nei mistalik. The roya just puts it. Shepherd just leaves it between them. Let them fight over it. Right, so they split it basically. Because there is no muhsik. And likewise, when Rabbi Tarfon applied the achloiku ruling to the one survivor here, to the sole sheep, and that's talking about this type of case, where the surviving sheep was handed over to a raya, to a shepherd, to care for it. And now the both parties, the kohen and the owner, are both approaching the shepherd for their animal. He's saying it's his. He's saying it's his. There is no muhsik. There's no moitzi. Nobody's taking it from the other. Therefore, you split it. Umashal Rabbi Akiva l'madar daima, as opposed to Rabbi Akiva's approach, is illustrated in the following parable, meaning it describes an entirely different circumstance. That it's sitting by the owner in his house. So the kohen can't take it away from him unless he can prove that the surviving one is his. A fellow left his animal with a balabayis, with an owner, meaning he has his own animals, and one animal died throughout the day. We don't know which one. Was it the balabayis' animal, or was it the mafkid? What's the halacha? Shamaytz mechal v'raya. You can't take anything away from the balabayis unless you can prove that in fact it's yours. Because in this case, the balabayis is a muhsik. In contrast to a shepherd who's not a muhsik. He's merely representing all the owners. He's holding it on behalf of all of them. So nobody has an advantage over the other. As opposed to a balabayis versus a mafkid, balabayis is certainly holding on to his animals as his. So now you can't take anything away unless you can prove that one of them belongs to you. That's exactly what happened in our Mishnah as well. That there was no shepherd involved. Rather, there was an owner who has yet to give anything away. He has both animals, Safek Bechor, one dies. He certainly can retain possession on the survivor. He's a muhsik, unless the kohen can prove otherwise. Says the Gemara. So basically, they're talking about different cases. He's talking apples, he's talking oranges, he's talking where there's no muhsik, therefore there's yachloik. He's talking where there is a muhsik. Right? My plea. So what then is there? Where do we have a machlekes? The machlekes in the Mishnah. Where is it talking about? Rabbi Akiva Palag b'shnaim sheifkid etzal raya. Rabbi Akiva who says Amoitzi b'chol haraya will disagree with Rabbi Tarfon in the case where two entrusted the raya. Sheminech raya b'nei mistal. The raya would just put it down and walk away, meaning they split it. Of course, he wouldn't disagree with that. And vice versa, I think Rabbi Tarfon would disagree. Rabbi Tarfon polag be'echad it's balabayis. When a fellow leaves his thing by the balabayis, would Rabbi Tarfon hold that the fellow has a right to it? No, balabayis is a muhsik. Meaning, these concepts are universal, universally agreed, universally accepted halachas. So you have to say that basically they're not arguing. Each one's talking about a different case. Rabbi Tarfon says echloika. There is no muhsik. He was talking about when there is a muhsik. So. But it certainly sounds in the Mishnah like there's a machlekes. I'm a Rava. So Rava will clarify further. Some say Rapapa. You're right. How come I all agree? Mishnayim sheifkid etzal raya. Two owners placed their animals in the care of a shepherd. Ran into some sort of uncertainty. Sheminech raya b'nei mistal. The raya just leaves it and leaves, meaning they split it. There's no muhsik echlik. On the other hand, when there is a muhsik, you say hamaitzi mechavel of raya. A fellow left his animal with the owner, and there's some sort of suffix. Of course, he can't go pull it away. So when do we have a machlekes? Meaning, it must be that our Mishnah is speaking about a sort of an in-between case, which can be, turned one way or the other. depending on the machlokes is only the case as follows. When it's sort of an arbitrary situation, which can go either way. Speaking that the owner, the balabais, has property, right? And the shepherd happens to be a kohen, who's the employee of this balabais. And assumingly, he gives the kohen any firstborns. Why not? It's a perk of the job. The question is to what extent. Rabbi Tarfon Savar, aknuye kamaknele b'chatzera. Truthfully, the balabais actually grants the kohen partial possession, access rights, usage rights, partial ownership in the chutzner, the property itself, so that as soon as the bechor comes into the world, it lands into the chutzner, boom! It's as though it landed in the chutzner of the kohen, and it's been transferred to him, and there was a mitzvah done. Why? The nichalei le'inish, a well-known formula, right? People are pleased. Nichalei dilas avid mitzvah. A person is pleased that that his possessions, that his belongings are involved in doing a mitzvah. He'd love that his chutzner takes part in a mitzvah and transferring a true bechor to the kohen. But that's in general. Now, what happened was in this case, it was really a suffix because two were born at once. We don't know which ones. But the kohen is considered a part owner on the chutzner, in which case he's in possession just as much as the balabais. So it's back to the case where two entrusted the raya. He's holding it on behalf of both, such as this chutzner is holding the suffix bechor on behalf of the owner and the kohen. The raya just leaves it and leaves, meaning it's split between the two. They both are equally muhsak. Rabbi Kiva disagrees. The balabais doesn't give away the store so easily. Kiva this leipseda, since by being so generous with the kohen and giving him access and rights to the property, he can end up losing. When? In a case when there's a suffix. You're not going to give him anything. He doesn't give him access or rights to the property. He doesn't want the kohen to be a muhsak when there is some sort of doubt. He doesn't want to lose out. So now back to the case of the owner being a muhsak. It's like the case of the fellow who gave his animal to the balabais, and sort of some sort of question arose, and the balabais is the muhsak. Likewise over here, the actual owner of the chutz is the muhsak, and not the kohen, the shepherd. In which case the kohen has to prove his case to extract. Okay, so bottom line, when there's a muhsak, all agree. When there's no muhsak, you say achlik. The question was how to interpret this sort of arrangement between the raya and the balabais. Does he have rights to the chutzner itself? In which case both are muhzakim, echloiku, that's Rabbi Tarfon's opinion, or no, that's Rabbi Kiva's opinion. Continues the next Mishnah, which is pretty much a continuation of the previous Mishnah, except that there we spoke about one sheep giving birth for the first time to a double header, two sacharim, one being a suffix, both being a suffix, in which case you give one to the kohen and one you keep. Here comes a similar halacha, but in a slightly different circumstance. You have he has two sheep birthing for the first time. Birthing two males. One came from each one, and they're both bechor, no question about that. Zachar nekeva. What if you end up with a male and female? Again, no question. The zachar belongs to the kohen. He's the bechor. You have two zachar and one nekeva. Now it could be that they're both males are bechor. Maybe they're both firstborns of both sheep, or it could be that only one is a firstborn, the other one came after the nekeva. So now we're running into the question of a suffix, which is pretty much a repeat of the previous Mishnah, which will just go through the words quickly. One to him, one to the kohen. That's the better one. Give him sham name, asheni. The second one, you have to you hold on to it, but you let it get a mum, just in case it's a bechor. You have to give matanis to the kohen. When one of the two dies, you split it. No, the kohen doesn't get anything. Now, let's say you have these two first-timers, Shtei Nekevas, giving birth to two females and one male. Now, it could very well be that there's no bechor here, because perhaps both firstborns were Nekeves. Or Shnei Zachar Shnei Nekeves, 2 males and females, the same story. The Kohen is out of luck. Ein kan the Kohen klum. Next scenario. Achas Bikra, Achas Le Bikra. You have 2 sheep, one Bichra, she's a veteran, she already gave birth, and one is the first time. We all do Shnei Zcharim, we have 2 males, Echlev Le Kohen, so now we know one is a Bechor, one is not. We just can't figure out which one. He keeps one to the Kohen. The Alpha Kohen gets the better one, they figure things out. The second one that he keeps, we let it go a while until it gets a blemish. The Matonis go to the Kohen, we say, Poiti exempts. Oh, here comes Rabbeisi's position. Rabbeisi, you know why Rabbeisi exempts the doubtful one from Matonis? The animal whose exchange was given to the Kohen, who was swapped with another one to the Kohen, that exempts it from Matonis, as we explained in great detail in the previous sugya. Meir says you're chayiv either way. Now in this case, one dies, and you have one survivor, you don't know what he is. You have to split it with the Kohen. No, he doesn't get it until he proves. Zachar Nekeva. So back to the case where one is a veteran, one is a first-time birther. You come back to the barn, you discover a male and female. It could be that the male came from the veteran, so there's no bechor. Ein kan l'kohen klum, kohen has no rights at all. Now, why repeat this Mishnah after the previous Mishnah? It's pretty much repeating the same. But shricha both are needed. Yashmin kamais, only from the first Mishnah. Ba'ikam Rakiva, perhaps over there, only Rakiva says that the Kohen only gets the weaker one, because the Trei Michada, because both were birthed from the same sheep. Okay, so you don't know which one came first, so you give the weaker one to the Kohen. Aval. But in our Mishnah where it's Shtei Rechelim Shalei Bikru, you have 2 that never birthed, it's the first time, and you ended up with two Zechar and a Nekeva. Okay, so you end up with 3 offspring. So 1 birth 2, 1 birth 1. To Trey, so we have 2 offspring Mechada from one animal, Bechada, and 1 offspring Mechada from the other one. So there's room to think that perhaps Ema maybe Moedili Reb Tarfon, or people would agree to Reb Tarfon in this case that the Kohen gets the better quality one, because it's presumed to have been birthed by that by the first time birther. That's why it looks so plump and healthy, because it's a single birth as opposed to a twin. That presumably the sheep that birthed only one had a better quality one. So we assume that the better quality animal came from the single birther, in which case it's a bechora. Still, Kiva says no, you can speculate, but you can't take it until you confirm. On the other hand, had we only discussed this Mishnah, welcome to Kiva, I would speculate, here Kiva says that the inferior one goes to the Kohen, Tarai le Bichru, because we're talking, after all, in the first part of our Mishnah, that both are the first time. So, it can very well be that the poor quality one came as a bechor, and it's still not the best quality because it's her first time birthing. Aval achas bikra, by the next section of the Mishnah, right? The third scenario, we have 2 sheep, 1 achas bikra, she's a veteran, she already had bechor, right? V'achas bikra, and her counterpart never did, first time. We have 2 males. Eima moidili Reb Tarfon, perhaps Reb Kiva will get to Reb Tarfon, that the better one belongs to the Kohen. Why? We turn to the next page. The hachta le bichra, because the sheep who's birthing for the first time, just the way it is, shviach tvei, presumably she gives birth to a better high quality product. This brings a Gemara. Tmura likewise, that the bechor is a better quality. So perhaps in this case, you remember, people would agree the Kohen is entitled to the better one. Tzricha, no. That's what we mentioned in all 3 cases. Then all 3, we have the same, running machlekes. Reb Tarfon says the better one is to the Kohen. Reb Kiva says, hametz v'chavei avarayim. Okay, all the best to you. That's l'chara.